Alright, in this video I'm going to be giving you my predictions for the 9709 Pure 1 Maths paper for February 2025. I've also created a full Cambridge style guest paper with a Cambridge style marking scheme, or if you hate marking schemes like I do, I've also created detailed solutions with explanations as well as a video of me solving the guest paper. But we'll talk more about that later in the video. For now, like the video, subscribe, and let's go through my predictions. We're going to go through this topic by topic and try to predict what types of questions will come up in this paper. So starting off with quadratics. The discriminant question is still the most dominant in this topic, and the data suggests that it's not slowing down anytime soon. So expect this question to come in the February series. The other questions that typically come in this topic are your hidden quadratics and completing the square questions. For hidden quadratics, it really just comes as a pure hidden quadratic. It's usually embedded in some trig function, so make sure to learn this concept because it definitely could come as an application to one of the more complex topics. Completing the square is quite possibly the first thing you learn when you start your A-level math journey, so whether it comes or not, you definitely should know it. Otherwise, the quadratics topic is a foundation for the whole of Pure 1 Maths, so you find bits and pieces of it within questions from other topics. So make sure you have a good grasp of this topic as a whole, especially the discriminant, because I can almost guarantee you that it's coming, and you know I've got this one in my guest paper as well. I never enjoy predicting questions from the functions topic because it's a pretty broad topic, and in every question paper you typically get a question that covers everything from range, inverse functions and composite functions. Occasionally you also get some transformations. My advice would be to make sure that you know how to find the range of a function, how to find the inverse of a function, and how to deal with composite functions. Obviously learn your transformations, but my priority would be to make sure that you've got range, inverse and composite functions in check. For coordinate geometry, expect the circles question to come. This question is heavily backed by the data. In fact, it has appeared in all of the last 4 February-March papers. This question usually involves some circle geometry, equations of circles, and equations of straight lines. So make sure you understand all of those. Now I have noticed that in recent times they have been including the expanded equation of a circle quite a lot. So in my guest paper I ended up also including a question that requires you to move from the expanded equation of a circle to the generic equation of a circle. You should know how to move back and forth between these two equations. For circular measure, Cambridge can only do one of two things. Either bring in a perimeter and area question, or just bring in some weird shape and task you to solve for some unknown. The key here is to master the process of solving for both perimeter and area. Then after that, make sure you understand your basic geometry, because the only variation in this topic is to bring some weird shape, and more often than not, that weird shape is usually just a combination of smaller and simpler basic shapes that you probably already know of. So make sure you master the basics of this topic and you should be good to go. For trig, expect an identity leading into a hence solve the equation. Now I know identities are a point of weakness for many students, and to be honest with you, it's not your fault. There's not much intuition in proving identities. You just get better at them by doing more of them. Fortunately, I do have 30 Instagram reels where I'm just proving identities. Make sure to check those out, and I'd appreciate it if you also follow the account in the process. Anyways, once you master identities, make sure you also know how to solve trig equations. Moving on to what is arguably the most important topic in Pure 1, series. You have 3 types of questions: binomial expansion, arithmetic progressions, and geometric progressions. I am almost certain that all of these 3 questions are coming in the February-March paper. They appear in pretty much every paper. In fact, all 3 of these questions appear in my guest paper as well. So if you struggle with this topic, I would advise that you drop everything else and focus on this. For context, this topic averages around 12 marks per paper, so it definitely is a big deal. Differentiation is another one of those broad topics. It has about 5 different types of questions, but the main question I would focus on is the stationary point question. This is the main question for differentiation. After that, you should look at your tangents and normals question. Those come quite frequently as well. Everything else in differentiation rarely comes. I will say that though, the increasing and decreasing function question appeared quite frequently in 2024, so watch out for that. As for the rates of change question, I don't know if it comes or not in this paper, but do make sure to practice it because most students do tend to struggle with it. For integration, you know you're always going to get your find the equation of the curve question, so be prepared for that. Apart from this question, it's pretty much a toss-up between the area of the shaded region question and the volume of revolution question. In the guest paper, I ultimately went for the area of shaded region question solely because it comes slightly more frequently, but do make sure you know how to find the volume of revolution as well. So before we talk about the guest paper, just to summarize everything, here's a list of the questions I would prioritize if I was writing the 9709 Pure 1 paper, February-March 2025. So for quadratics, we have discriminant. For functions, we have range, inverse, composite. For coordinate geometry, we have circles. For circular measure, we have perimeter and area. For trigonometry, we have trig identities. For series, we have everything in series. So binomial expansion, arithmetic progressions, and geometric progressions. For differentiation, we have stationary points and tangents and normals. For integration, we have the equation of a curve as well as the area of a shaded region. Now, using a lot of the ideas and predictions I have discussed in this video, I created a guest paper. It has a lot of similarities with the actual paper that you will write in February. I've made it in such a way as to make it feel like the actual exam paper, and it has that Cambridge feeling. The questions themselves look like Cambridge questions. The idea is for it to be the exam before the exam, to give those who use the guest papers an unfair advantage going into the exams. And apart from the full Cambridge style guest paper, I've also created a full Cambridge style marking scheme for those who want to really mark their guest papers accurately as Cambridge would, to get an accurate representation of how they could perform in the final exam. However, I do appreciate that not everyone understands or even wants to use a marking scheme. They just want to know if their answer is correct, and if not, where they went wrong. So I've also created a worksheet with detailed solutions for all the questions in the guest paper, and you also get a full video solution of me solving all the questions in the guest paper. So if you're ready to collect that A-star that I am handing to you on a silver platter, feel free to purchase the guest papers on my website. That will be the first link in the description. And if you want to see a sample of what the guest papers look like, you can see the October-November 2024 guest papers I created listed for free on my website. For schools interested in guest papers, you can fill out the respective form on my website. The link to that is also in the description. That's it for this video. Like the video, subscribe, and see you next week for more guest papers.